Canadians actually mean all this talk about tariffs and everything has made me start to wonder. As a person growing up there, it was always like, oh, we're so polite and people love us, and we wear the Canadian flag on our luggage, and that lets everyone know that we're not mean, we're cool, we're nice. And I found out once I started traveling to America and then eventually moved here that actually everyone is nice. Okay. This is not like a Canadian thing. Now, I will say this. Welcome, by the way. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click the button, I think down there, and click the bell so you know when I go live. My hair is looking crazy again. But it got me thinking when I started traveling down here to America, all different states, all different cities. I started interacting with many Americans and I thought, wait a second. We've got it all wrong. It's not that Canadians are nicer, okay? It's that Canadians are more passive. Okay? That's the way I would put it. They're more like agreeable. Agreeable is probably the right way to say it. Like if you're talking to an American about anything, it doesn't even have to be that controversial. It can just be like you could be talking about a restaurant, right? If you're talking to a Canadian and you're like, that Italian restaurant on Main Street, I really loved it. I mean, it's like one of the best Italian restaurants that's ever been in this city. A Canadian would say, "Oh yeah, totally." But they wouldn't say it because that's what they think. They would say it because that is the best way just to make sure there's no conflict. Just agree to get along so that there's no combativeness. Whereas an American would say, "No, I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan." And I started to realize this being here is like at first you're kind of taken aback by it. You're like, "Whoa, like tell me how you really feel." But then you start to learn it's actually refreshing that way. It's better that way. Because now you know how everyone feels, you know how everyone thinks. Okay, sorry, I've had it way too. The gain was way up on my microphone. But anyway, it's way better that way. Because you know where everyone stands. People aren't being fake with you. And again, this is like a huge generalization, I understand, but that's how it's been for me. That's what I've experienced. But anyways, since this whole tariff trade war has started, I've began to see that maybe this whole thing about Canadians being nice and agreeable, go along to get along, maybe not so much, because the venom from Canadians about this trade war. And look, I know, Trump started it. Now, I know why he's doing it. He's going country to country and he's just trying to even everything up, even the playing field. He wants everything to be reciprocal. And so, look, I'm well aware that he fired the first shot. But now I see that we're canceling Wayne Gretzky. Canada has decided to take their national treasure, Wayne Gretzky, and cancel him. Why? Well, let's pull up an article here to read. Now, I don't like doing this. As you can see there, the Panthers lost today. I don't like doing this because I like to come on the show. I like to stream. I like to just freewheel. I like to just shoot from the hip, talk, You like it, you don't like it, whatever. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes I incorporate articles just because there's a specific story I want to cover, I want to do, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. So don't worry, it's not going to be like that. So give me 1 second here. I am still a little bit rusty. If you're watching on X, please follow me. If you're watching on YouTube, click subscribe. We're going for 800 subscribers now. You guys got me to 700. Thank you very much to everybody. Okay, let me see here. Share screen. Okay. Let me make sure. Okay, you can see that, right? Okay. So let's go through it. This is on Sportsnet, which is a Canadian sports channel and website. It's kind of like ESPN, but in Canada. Although I'm sure TSN would disagree with that. But nonetheless, I digress. Okay, here's the article. I saw this today and I thought, wow, like I have to talk about this on the stream because it's just so nutty. It's titled "Trump's Policy on Canada Stirs Loyalty Debate" about Wayne Gretzky. So this is in the Associated Press. And I saw that this was also on CNN, which is, again, mind-blowing that this is like an actual story, but whatever. You know, anything to try and stick it to Trump, the media loves. Okay. I just want to make sure this is the same one that I read earlier. Pretty sure it is. Give me 1 second. Make it bigger so you can see it. How's that? Perfect. Okay. Okay, so here we go. This is, and by the way, this is like so typical. This is, if you want to sum up every problem Canada is having, well, not every problem, but one of the major problems Canada is having, you have to look no further than this. Okay, this is in Brantford, Ontario. John Davidson has difficulty remembering the last time Wayne Gretzky visited his childhood home across the street in this small city, a couple hours drive southwest of Toronto. The modest home with a one-car garage in a quiet residential neighborhood remains in the family, but the great one's visits have been fewer and farther between, especially since his beloved father, Walter, died in 2021. The backyard ice rink where Gretzky developed his generational talent has since been replaced by a pool. Oh, no. Now 85, Davidson still chases away the occasional curiosity seeker, a far cry from the days when busloads of children would pull up or the time Wayne and his wife Janet showed up with an entourage 3 limousines strong. The retired steel worker then lowered his hand to his knee to indicate how long he's known Gretzky before saying Wayne's changed a lot since he went down to the States. Now, here's something for Americans. Canadians, when they're talking about Americans, or no, when they're talking about America, they never say America, USA, United States. They always say the States. Hey, you going down to the States? Hey, how's the trip to the States? Oh, he moved to the States years ago. So that's kind of how they refer to it. But let me just comment on a few things so far in this article. The backyard ice rink where Gretzky developed his generational talent has since been replaced by a pool. So they've set it up like, yeah, they don't even respect the backyard where he practiced all those hours. Mind you, this is literally 50 years later, just saying, more, 60 years later. And this guy is, he's upset because people don't come to see the Wayne Gretzky house anymore. People aren't interested. They're going to drive by to see the bungalow. There's the house Gretzky. Now look, when I was younger, when I was like 10 years old, hey, I would have loved to drive there, and I'd be like, there it is. There's the yard where he practiced. There's where it all went down. This is where the dream came alive. But now it's kind of like, why? You know, life goes on. Like many in the city of 105,000 and across a nation of 40 million, Davidson has difficulty squaring the child he once knew. The player who won 4 Stanley Cups in Edmonton and rewrote the NHL's scoring records, and the person he sees now. At 64, Gretzky is now the subject of a once unimaginable debate over his loyalty to his native Canada due to his ties to President Donald Trump, whose brazen comments about the nation's sovereignty have angered Canadians. Pictures of Gretzky celebrating Trump's election night victory at Mar-a-Lago and attending his inauguration don't sit well at a time Canadians face an existential crisis in the wake of rising tariffs and the president's comments about turning its southern neighbor into a 51st state. Many find it unsettling that Gretzky is silent on the topic. This reminds me, okay, unquote, we're going to my commentary now. This reminds me of, do you remember, I'm just going to fix the screen here a little bit. Do you remember when BLM was happening, Black Lives Matter? And they weren't just sufficient, and they weren't happy just that people were supporting their cause, okay? They were angered that there were people who were silent, okay? So it wasn't just like, hey, you know, if you're opposed to us, then we got a problem with you. It's like, okay, whatever. They took it a step way further than that. They started saying, hey, if you are silent and you're not saying anything about it, you are just as bad as Derek Chauvin. That's literally what they were saying. So if you didn't even want to weigh in, if you were just like, nah, you know what, look, this is this political stuff, this Black Lives Matter stuff, hey, I don't want any part of it. You guys can comment on that. I've got a job, I got a family, I've got bills to pay. You know, look, you do you guys. Like, if you guys want to be activists, no problem. No, that wasn't good enough for them. You had to be actively involved. If you dared not to say something, if you were silent and you just reserved your right not to get involved, you were as bad, they said, as the people committing these crimes. You were as bad as Derek Chauvin. You were as bad as those guys in Brunswick, Georgia, or whatever. So they weren't happy with just people supporting their cause. They weren't just unhappy with people going against the cause. They were pissed if people were silent and didn't say anything at all. So this is like kind of the same. That's what this reminds me of, actually. It's like they are ticked off at Gretzky because he has decided to stay neutral. He's decided not to say anything, which is his right. He doesn't have to say anything. See, it says here, pictures of Gretzky celebrating Trump's election night victory at Mar-a-Lago and attending his inauguration don't sit well at a time Canadians face an existential crisis in the wake of rising tariffs and the president's comments about turning his northern neighbor into a 51st state. Many find it unsettling that Gretzky is silent on the topic, even with Trump suggesting Gretzky run for office for the eventuality of becoming the nation's governor once it joins the U.S. Quote, I always thought the hell out of him. I don't know what that means, Davidson said of Gretzky. I always thought the hell out of him. Hate is a terrible word. Dislike is a better word. So this guy here, this 85-year-old guy living in Brantford, okay, Gretzky has not been living there for decades, okay? If you aren't a hockey fan, look, Gretzky played for Edmonton in Canada, in Alberta, for 10 years. He won 4 Stanley Cups. Then he got traded to Los Angeles Kings, okay? Since then, he has not returned to Canada again, other than a couple visits. He went to his dad's funeral. But since then, he's been American. His wife's American. His kids are American. There's no reason for him to go back. And let me just say this as well. And I will say it as kindly as I possibly can. Wherever Gretzky is living right now, have it be Los Angeles or Palm Beach or somewhere in Florida, because his son-in-law, Dustin Johnson, lives in Florida, I can guarantee you, wherever he is living, it is not comparable to Brantford, Ontario. Okay, Brantford, Ontario, I'm sure the people in Brantford, Ontario are fantastic people, hardworking people, God-fearing, maybe, I don't know. But it's not the best place to live. Let's just put it that way, okay? People understand that. People know. When I was in college, I had a friend I mean, I did college there and here, but when I was in college in Canada, I had actually one of my roommates was from basically Brantford, a little town beside Brantford, and it was not a great place to be. Okay, so let's just put it that way. So this guy's living there, and he's got a gripe with Wayne Gretzky. Why? Because he dared not to live in Brantford, Ontario anymore. He chose to live in LA, or he chose to live in Palm Beach, or he chose to live wherever he is now. I'm actually not sure where Gretzky lives now. We'll check it, but I'm sure it's a very nice area, and which he deserves, by the way. Now this guy doesn't like him. For what reason exactly? Because he became an NHLer, made a lot of money, is the greatest hockey player to ever live. One of his daughters is dating, one of his kids is dating Dustin Johnson. I mean, he's living the life. He's on the golf course with a cigar. I can just imagine Gretzky, 4 o'clock Thursday afternoon, sitting by the pool. He's ready to go to the Live tournament on Saturday. You know, Trump calls him up. Wayne, how are you? Would you like to come to a party at Mar-a-Lago? And Wayne's sitting there going, no, sir. I have a flight to Brantford, Ontario, where I'm going to go and stay for half the year to show Canadians that I am one of them. No. So Gretzky's living a life that he deserves. He's living a life we all dream of. And this Canadian who, and again, Canadians are supposed to be nice and understanding and blah, blah, blah. But no, this guy is just ticked off. How dare Wayne Gretzky become a successful hockey player, become a successful American citizen? I don't know if he's a citizen, but he lives there. How dare he do that and leave us here in Brantford, Ontario, this crappy town? How dare he become like, I don't know. It just seems kind of not in line with how we know Canadians to be. If we were to believe the myth that Canadians are nice and gentle and polite and accepting, they would say, we're so happy for Wayne. He's living the life he deserves, and we're proud that we raised him up and sent him off, and there he is. But no. It's the total opposite, as you see here. Next paragraph, growing up. Gretzky's on-ice exploits remain legendary, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to know that. Gretzky's influence abounds in Brantford. His charitable foundation provides for numerous local causes, including Special Olympics and distributing free hockey sticks to children. Outside the Wayne Gretzky Sports Center is a statue of Gretzky raising the Stanley Cup with 3 smaller statues looking on, representing his parents and a young Gretzky wearing a Red Wings Gordie Howe jersey. All of this in honor of a person who has been gone for a majority of his life and makes his home in the U.S. Of his 5 children, daughter Paulina is best known for her marriage to top golfer Dustin Johnson. And while the Gretzkys are a far cry from the Kardashians, there is a Hollywood shine to the family that previously served as a mild curiosity to most Canadians until the turmoil of today. Yeah, now we get to the good part. Now we get to the part they're really ticked off about. Trump and Gretzky. Recently, the face of Gretzky statue outside of the Edmonton Oilers arena had been smeared with feces, part of a polarizing debate that's raised ire among his detractors and eye rolls from his defenders. So that is the natural thing to do. You're upset that a sports star supports a politician you don't like, so you're going to smear his statue with poop. This is the woke mind virus, as they call it. Okay, this is how their brains are computing this. Okay, Canada good, Gretzky good, Trump bad, America bad, Gretzky live in America, support Trump bad, bad man, throw poop. That's how their brains work. He's done so many good things in both of these countries, he doesn't need to explain himself to anybody, said Brantford councillor Dan McCreary. There's a real Canadian name for you, Dan McCreary. whose ward includes the Gretzky Sports Complex. He referred to Gretzky's critics as being part of a cancel culture movement. True. Okay, finally, we have some sense here. And surprisingly enough, color me shocked, it is coming from a politician. You might suggest that to him. Oh, hold on a second. Not lost on McCreary is how Brantford sits in the crosshairs of the cross-border dispute. The city serves as a transportation hub, a 2.5-hour drive from 3 border crossings, and with a manufacturing base linked to the auto industry, now facing potential fallout from U.S. tariffs. You might suggest that to him, McCreary said when asked if Gretzky could put in a good word to Trump about his hometown. Gretzky did not respond to messages seeking comment from the Associated Press for the story. Now, damn, Gretzky. He is not even responding to the story. Being Canadian, a sense of national pride led to Kat Philp, sounds like a fake name, launching a petition to rename Brantford's Wayne Gretzky Parkway after Walter, who held the honorary title of Brantford's Lord Mayor for his extensive community work. The issue is not whose Wayne Gretzky's friends are. You do you, Philp said. Instead, she feels betrayed by his failure to voice support for Canada. Okay, so now here we are. We're back again. It's his silence. It's not that Gretzky came out and said, hey, I support Trump. He's doing the right thing. No, he was just silent. He didn't say a thing. And so his silence implies guilt in their minds. We always felt he was still Canadian. We don't feel that way anymore, said Philp, 50, who grew up playing hockey, attended Gretzky's celebrity slow pitch tournaments as a teenager, and was proud in telling people she was from Gretzky's hometown. Peter Pocklington, the former Edmonton Oilers owner, is stunned by the backlash directed at someone he's known since purchasing the 17-year-old player's rights in 1978 and bringing him to Edmonton to usher in the franchise's heyday before trading him to Los Angeles. Wayne is not a politician. He's a hockey player, period. And his heart has always been in Canada with Canada, Pocklington said from his home in Desert Palm, California. I'm not sure he'd stand up in his own defense, but I think he probably feels sorry for them more than anything. So there you have it. I mean, seriously, this is where we are now. This is it. This is where we are. Whoops, you want to see me, right? Cancel culture. But it's not just cancel culture, okay? Yes, that it is an example of it. But it's not just cancel culture. It's a prevailing Canadian idea that anything American is bad. And anybody who moves there, supports a Republican president. I mean, I can remember the same kind of animosity when George W. Bush was president. George W. Bush, who is the moderate of all moderates. They called George W. Bush Hitler. So it's kind of obvious that they're going to be ticked off with. But look, they want now to tear down statues. They want to get rid of anything named after Gretzky. You saw it there. They want it to be named after Walter Gretzky now. And the only reason they want to get rid of all this history, all the statues, all the charitable donations, all the community outreach he's done, all the money he's given them, everything, they're going to throw it all away. All because, why? Because he wore a MAGA hat at Mar-a-Lago and he went to the inauguration for a president who they don't like. And he is silent on political matters and a trade war between the US and Canada. That is the only, they want to tear down everything. They want to take his name off everything. They want to tear down the statues. They want to say he's not Canadian anymore. Okay, he's not Canadian anymore. So what? So what? Look, Canadians are going to be very offended by this, but because I have lived there for many years, I feel I know them well. I have a right to say what I'm about to say, and I'm right about what I'm about to say. Most Canadians who become very successful move to America. It doesn't matter if they find success in entertainment. It doesn't matter if they find success in sports. It doesn't matter if they find success in business. It does not matter. If they're a celebrity, if you are doing well in Canada, you end up moving to America. That's what you do. And could anyone really blame Wayne Gretzky for not wanting to live out his retirement days, months, and years, his sunset years in Brantford, Ontario? I mean, let's think about it. We've got, and look, again, this is no shot at Brantford, Ontario. Nice people, hardworking people, whatever. Nothing against the people of Brantford, nothing against the city. But look, if you become very successful as Wayne Gretzky did in his career, using his talents and his hard work, and you can now enjoy the fruits of all that labor, where would you do it? Would you do it in Brantford, Ontario, number one, where it's snowing and sleeting for 7 months a year, where there are no real opportunities? There are no real communities where successful people will live. Or you can move to a beachfront home in Los Angeles or Florida somewhere. Which one would you choose if you were Gretzky? Okay, we have option number one. Option number one is Brantford, Ontario. Okay, you're Wayne Gretzky. You've made your millions. Option number one, I'm going to live out my sunset years in Brantford, Ontario. Number one. Number two, we have Palm Beach or Los Angeles. Okay, either or. Okay, Malibu. Okay, Brantford. Los Angeles, Brantford, Palm Beach, Brantford. I don't know which one would you choose if you're Wayne Gretzky. It's just a complete mystery. We don't know. What a tough choice. This is crazy. These people are insane. Canada has gone insane. It's an insane country. And people say to me, "How can you hate the country you grew up in? How can you hate on?" Because the country I grew up in is no more. That is not the country I grew up in. But then you are faced with the possibility that it is the country that you grew up in, and you start to think, wow, like maybe what this is we're finally seeing how people really feel about things. And everyone says to me, don't worry, Florida millennial. They're going to elect Pierre Poilievre. And that's going to solve everything. Don't worry about it. Trudeau's gone, Carney's a fraud, and we're gonna get that guy in there. Look, by the way, I know you don't want to hear about Canadian politics. I don't want to discuss Canadian politics. But because the Trump thing is going on and I have a little bit of a unique take on the situation, maybe. So anyway, it's insane. Honestly, it's absolutely insane. The country is finished as far as I'm concerned. I'm extremely blessed to be here. Extremely grateful to be here in the free state of Florida. You know, I was recently on a road trip, family road trip, and I was driving out of Florida and back in. And I didn't know this, but there is a huge sign when you're entering Florida and when you're leaving Florida. Okay, they have the regular sign, the regular Florida sign, which is like a huge one. But they also have a sign that says, as you're leaving, something like, "Thank you for coming. Hope you come back to the free state of Florida. And then it says Governor Ron DeSantis. And then coming back in, it says, welcome to the free state of Florida. Now, look, you know I'm not a DeSantis stan when it came to him and Trump and whatever. He's done a great job with the state, though. Fantastic job here, I have to say. Even though he is desanctimonious, he's done a very good job. And I kind of like that. Welcome to the free state of Florida. And as you're coming back in, you go, yeah, you know, we are lucky to be here. You know, we are lucky this is a place that's like, and everyone talks about how like crazy Florida is. And it is crazy. It's crazy because there's so many different types of people here. Like, what did Roger Stone used to say? Roger Stone said that Florida is a sunny place for shady people. And it's like, I've heard as well, people say, Florida is the place you go when you want to like rebuild yourself. When you're like, everything else has sucked. You're just like, I'm going to go to Florida and I'm just going to figure it out, you know? So yeah, look, there's crazy stuff that happens. South Florida, middle of Florida, Panhandle. There's a lot of interesting people here. You know, there's gators. The weather's hot. It's like whatever. But I will say this. Living through COVID in a place that was the opposite of Florida, I am very, very glad to be here. Okay. Very, very glad because I know what it's like. I know what it was like to live in a place that went crazy. And I think Canada went crazy during COVID. I think it was pretty crazy before, but I think COVID was really the last straw. And I think everyone just went nuts. And now I'm looking at what's happening there with elbows up and like trade war stuff. You know, I was talking to my mom the other day, and she told me that one of her friends was in a grocery store in Canada, and she was buying something that wasn't Canadian or Canadian made in Canada, and she was yelled at. Like someone in the aisle yelled at her. And that reminds me of the COVID thing. Like if you weren't wearing a mask, they'd yell at you. Like if you weren't complying, they would yell at you. They would go crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're doing it again. Like anything the media tells them, they believe anything the narrative shapers tell them, they believe it. It is so crazy and it's so sad to see. And like, I really think this liberal guy running, I would not be surprised if he won. I would not be surprised in the least. Canada is number one, it is full of leftists everywhere you turn. If Americans think it's bad here, Canada is like California on steroids. And, you know, Canadians too. A lot of the Canadians are anti American. You know, all this stuff, but we've been great neighbors. It's like, you know what? For the people who actually have lived there, we know that's sort of not the whole truth. Okay. You hang around Canadians long enough and they're going to smack talk America. They're going to bad talk the American president. They're going to make fun of and mock and ridicule Americans and their ideas and their president and their politics. And so they go and they do all that for decades and decades. And now they want to play like nothing. They've never done anything wrong. They're the greatest neighbors ever because they let a few people stay at their homes in Gander after September 11th. Are you kidding? We're the best ally ever. It's like, yeah, but your people talk smack about America 24/7. Maybe you had it coming to you. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. Maybe you shouldn't have carried on like you do all the time. And I'm not even talking about politicians on TV or in social media or in speeches or anything like that. I'm talking about the actual people there, the actual people. My experience, the actual people are mostly anti-American, mostly leftist, mostly liberal, would would call and tattle on you for not wearing a mask, would call and tattle on you for buying the wrong thing in a grocery store. It has become an Orwellian hell. It really has. And as I say, people tell me, how can you talk badly about the country you grew up in? The country that I am looking at right now, in this trade war and what's going on there politically. I mean, I haven't even gotten into that. You don't want to hear about that. This isn't a show about Canadian politics, but just trust me, what's going on there, you don't want that here. And as much as Trump jokes about 51st state, yeah, we probably don't want that. But there is something else I wanted to show you, because this kind of perfectly illustrates what I was talking about, or what I had been talking about. This I saw the other day. I want to see if I can pull it up here. Let me see. Let's share the screen here. This was so funny. Okay, so I saw this the other day on Threads, believe it or not. Threads. I don't know how I was roped into going on Threads. It's like Meta's version of X. I don't know, but let me just see here. So this guy says 2 different countries, 2 very. What's the title again? The title is 2 very different energies landing in US America versus Canada. Can you tell the difference? Is it playing? Can you see it? Let me just make sure it's playing. Okay, yeah, it is playing. Okay, so this guy's landing in I don't know where, JFK, and he sees a giant American flag, and then it says U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, and he goes, "Oh man, I don't know. This place is scary." And then he's landing in Vancouver, and he's impressed by all this stuff. I mean, seriously? Like, this is what you're impressed by, dude? Like, I don't know. Is it? This is kind of like perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. He's like, "Ooh, look, there's a big American flag. That's scary." And it says U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. Oh no. This place is scary. And then he shows you the Vancouver airport, and look, there's a huge wooden bird. It's a huge wooden toucan, and it's a bunch of canoes, and there's ducks, and there's like a little water fountain, and it's just like my backyard. It makes me feel, it's so welcoming. It's so welcoming. The guy's he's scared of an American flag. This is a grown man. This is a grown man who thinks that it's bad and intimidating that there's a big American flag in the American airport. It says U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. Oh no, that's a bad vibe. Oh, it makes me scared. Oh, I don't know. What am I going to do? Am I going to be? You should see the comments. The comments are like, I feel like I'm going to be detained here. Look at the beautiful Vancouver. It's so welcoming. Every time I come home here, I'm just like this. I'm so proud. Should we go to the comments? Let's go to the comments. Look, here's a giant toucan. Oh, look at that big toucan. Oh, a canoe and a water fountain and a little ducky. And two huge totem poles. Look at the big wooden bird. And then the contrast. Oh, no, wait for it. Is he going to show it? Oh, no, look. Oh, no. This is in Los Angeles. The big American flag. Oh, no. It's scary. This airport is scaring me. And then Vancouver. Oh, look. There's art everywhere. Oh, yeah, look. There's trees. Look at the fake cave and the canoe. Oh, it makes you feel so warm, doesn't it? Isn't Canada so great? You just have this, you get to the Vancouver airport, and never mind that outside the airport, there's streets full of drug addicts and whatever, like heroin needles everywhere. What really counts is we come back to the airport and there's a huge wooden a huge wooden toucan. When you what really counts is we have a bunch of canoes and a water fountain. Like, and wait until you see the comments. The comments are really gonna show you something. Wait, how do I get to the original here? Let me see here. Look at this person. Immediately looks at flight packages to Canada. Where should we visit? Clearly a paid troll. Canada is a civilized country in comparison to the USA, where they are primitives. Friendly and welcoming, Canada. Unfriendly and possible detention vibe, US. Possible detention vibe. By the way, wouldn't you rather have your Customs and Border Patrol have that vibe? It's like, hey, if you're going to come in, you better be following the rules. Like, isn't that a good thing? Canada, a million times better. Look at this person. He says, America is a cheap knockoff of Canada. This is Vancouver, world class. Well, here's someone. I remember coming back from honeymoon from Belize and landing back in America. I was so happy to be in the US. It gave me such peace of mind. I love the USA. There you go. Finally, someone. There was a really funny one. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show it, though. Hold on 1 second. Let me just see. Let me see if I can. No, wait, no, that's not what I want. Okay. I made a comment, okay, on it. Something similar to what I'm saying now. You don't need to see the comment because, but anyway, I'm going to read you the responses to my comment. One person even told me I skipped leg day. Can you believe it? That was the only comment that made sense, honestly. That was, I'll give it to you. Yeah, I have skipped leg day way too much. I have very skinny legs. One person says, here, let me see if I can share this. 1 sec. They've changed the whole my StreamYard is all changed. That's why it's taking me so long. All right, can we see it now? Look at these comments. America is literally a third world country at this rate with its level of poverty. The person says, the pics you posted on your 1024 trip to Canada don't make it look like a third world country. You and the missus seem to love it there. He learned to lie because of Trump and the Kool-Aid kids. These people are so freaking cringe, dude. Wait, I want to find the best one. Where is it? Where is it? Because I commented on the toucan. That's what it is, right? It's a toucan. Where is this comment? Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. There's the comment. Wait, why did it just disappear? Okay, okay, here it is. Here it is. No, this comment actually made me cry of laughter. That's not just any bird, you walnut. I've never been called a walnut in my life, but this is a first. That's Hedix. It's a thunderbird and known as the keeper of the city. It's an immense sculpture completed by an internationally renowned artist, Connie Watts, and named after her grandmother. Oh, well, I mean, if it's named after her grandmother, let me retract my statement. Have some respect. P.S. You're not allowed back in Canada if you're going to be I guess that's a donkey. That's not just any bird, you walnut. That's Hedix. Literally insane people. Insane people. So anyway, that was my adventure on Threads. I would recommend stay away from Threads. Nothing good happening on there. I think did Threads become the place? My hair looks crazy. Did Threads become the place where like all the people who didn't want to stay on Twitter anymore went because like they didn't like Elon Musk and like people could finally say what they wanted to on X. So like, hey, we're out of here. If people are saying right-wing stuff we don't like on here now, and they all went to Threads, I guess. I don't know, but it just had a real leftist vibe. But anyway, it was kind of funny seeing all the comments. Like I'm just looking at them come in one after another. And as I said, the only one I liked was this guy skipped leg day. No, to whoever said that, okay, touche. You got me. You got me on that one. But yeah, like this guy, like how can you possibly be wowed by that? Like that speaks to a much deeper difference that's not political. And I've been talking about this for a while. Like this stuff, a lot of political arguments and debates actually when you get down to it and you dig deeper, it's not political, it's more psychological. Like to me, if I walk into that airport and I see that stuff, I'm not thinking like, wow, this is badass, this is cool. Like there's a huge wooden toucan on the ceiling and there's a bunch of like kayaks and canoes and water everywhere. Like I don't go to an airport thinking, you know what I'd love if I walked in the airport and it looked like I was on a nature trail. Like that, it doesn't really occur to me to want that. Because it's an airport. Now, if this guy was comparing an American airport to like something in like Dubai or like some cool looking airport, like there are some really amazing airports that you go, whoa, like that's impressive, right? And then the contrast of it is he's scared of the huge American flag, which that's what should be in the airport. When you're coming into Customs and Border Patrol, it should be a huge American flag. You're entering America. Why would someone be impressed with a bunch of crap? And okay, look, I know they're gonna say it's not crap. It's it's native art, or it's like whatever nations art, First Nations art, I don't know, whatever. But I don't know, just that's just me. Call me crazy. Just trying to get the focus back. There we go. Yeah, so it doesn't it wouldn't impress me to arrive at the Vancouver airport and walk past a bunch of art made from 2x4s, and to walk by like a fountain that you would see. It's just like a glorified Home Depot water fountain that you'd put in your backyard, and then like two huge totem poles. I guess the totem poles might be kind of cool, but and then you walk out of the airport and then there's like needles on the ground and like heroin addicts dying. It's like, this is not. So we're impressed with the art at the airport when the actual city has major problems. And look, I'm not saying American cities don't have problems, but let us not pretend that this is like an indication of the health of the country. Because when you look at Canada, the GDP numbers, the economic growth, all of these economic indicators are horrible. They're lagging behind. G7, they're at the very bottom. The country has huge demographic issues it's not even paying attention to. I mean, the people realize it, but nobody else is paying attention to it. It's not even a topic. So anyway, I don't want to make every one of my streams about Canada and Canadian politics, but just so happens there's a lot of content here because of the trade war. And then I see Trump. I mean, recently he's been talking about the possibility that he will run for a third term. Now, Steve Bannon has been out there saying, "Hey, look, we're going to tee that up. Like, we're excited for the third term. He's going to run again. He can do it constitutionally." And they asked Speaker Johnson about this, I think today or yesterday, and he said, "Well, yeah, it can be done, but you need to change the Constitution." Blah blah blah. This is just sending them into the ether, okay? And the great part about it is Trump is truly the master troll. We have never seen anything like it. And it's funny that the master troll, because trolling is like, it came about in the internet age as kind of like a millennial thing, or maybe even a Gen Z thing, but I think more a millennial thing. It's just funny that Trump, who's like 78 years old, is the biggest troll. And he knows if he says something, it is just going to send everyone into orbit. And they take the bait every single time. They take the bait. And I think that's what started the 51st state thing. I think he was trolling Trudeau. And that's why he said Governor Trudeau. And he recognized that it worked. The joke landed. See, Trump is he's like half stand-up comic, half politician. Okay? But here's the great thing about it. The politician side is like really hard-nosed, negotiator, doesn't take any crap. Like tariffs, he's just full steam ahead on the tariffs. He doesn't care what anybody says. People ask him, "Sir, are they still going to happen on April 2nd? Yes, they are. They're going into effect April 2nd. He just doesn't care. So we get the best of both worlds, honestly. We get the politician side, which is hard-nosed and take no nonsense and whatever. And then we have the stand-up comic who is looking for his jokes to land, and he knows when they're landing. He can sense it. He feels it. He feels the response. So if he had said 51st state and Canada went, haha, that's funny, maybe someday, he'd probably let up on it. He'd be like, "Oh, it didn't work." But because Canada and Canadians flipped out about it, and Canadian politicians are going crazy, they're canceling Wayne Gretzky, who is like one of the greatest Canadians to ever live. Once he knew that they were exploding over it and they were ticked, he knew the joke landed, and he just kept going in. Once he smells weakness, and once he sees that whatever he's saying is getting to you, have it be a Democrat he's going against, someone in the media, world leaders, other countries, once he knows that he's got you, Once he knows that you have taken the bait by getting angry and blowing it up into a huge thing, then he knows it's a home run. It's a home run. And he's doing the same thing now with saying that he's going to run again for a third term. He probably jokes about it like, I'm not going to do that, but let's just joke. Let's just throw it out there. Let's just try it. That's what stand-up comics do. A/B test it, see what kind of response you get. And they go crazy. He can't do that. It's unconstitutional. He can't be king. America doesn't have a monarchy. And on and on and on. And he knows it landed perfectly. And this is the mistake they make. Remember the people who said way back that Trump's detractors, what was the saying they had? His supporters take him seriously, but not literally. His haters don't take him seriously, but they do take him literally. Meaning, like, they take everything he says as though there's no humor to it at all. There's no trolling to it at all. There's no sarcasm to it at all. It's just everything he says, that's what he means he's going to do. And now we're going to have a conniption fit and an emotional meltdown for many weeks and months over it. And he's just having the greatest time ever with that. So to see this president / stand-up comic do his thing it is hilarious. I have to admit, it is hilarious. So, but anyway, that's all I got for tonight. I wanted to comment on the Gretzky stuff. I wanted to comment on the threat with the guy in the airport. It's just so crazy. I just feel so bad for Canada. I feel bad for what's happened there. I'm so glad I'm here. You have no idea. I am so glad. Okay. I mean, anyway. So that's that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everyone who has subscribed. We're going to get to 800 very soon. I feel very confident about it. And I'm going to keep, by the way, I'm going to keep posting clips because my YouTube shorts have done very well. And I'm going to try and do that on TikTok as well. So we'll see. Okay. It's almost 11 o'clock. I gone an hour, which is what I intended to do. Thank you to everybody who's watched. Thank you for subscribing. And I will try my best to stream either tomorrow night or next night or very soon, or whenever something worthy of my attention comes up. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you soon. God bless.